My interest in Holocaust was to answer one question. I knew that victims were there, and I knew that Nazis' intent of killing them were there. My question was, where was the world? When and at what extent the world knew about the Holocaust at the time. And a more burning question was how the world allowed this event to happen. I learned that the European Jewry was ground to dust between the twin millstones of murderous Nazi intent and the callous Allied indifference. I learned when we witnessed injustice, the indifference is not an option. Silence always is in favor of oppressors. I learned that what we don't say carries weight. The Holocaust, the systematic, bureaucratic extermination of entire people, men, women, children, and even suckling infants, solely because of the identity and the belief of the grandparents, defies explanation. The facts may be recounted, but can never be understood. Question may be posed, but answers should not be expected. Responses, yes, perhaps, but not answers. As I studied the Holocaust, I gradually realized that my first duty as a student of Holocaust is to write down what happened as clearly and completely as possible in my mother tongue. There is no subject more important to me than this. And though there exist tens of thousands of books on this subject in English and other different languages, there has never been a comprehensive research book about the Holocaust in Farsi, which is spoken daily by more than 100 million people worldwide. Hence, the reason for writing this book. One of my mentors in the field of Holocaust, Professor Raoul Hilberg, wrote the first comprehensive book about the Holocaust 52 years ago, writes, knowing about how this event happened puts you in the mind of victims and oppressors. But he says, after 50 years of research in the Holocaust, there's a question that I could not find a trace of answer. And that question was, why? He says, what is in human nature and institutions that makes the Holocaust possible? What was the source of the moral immunity felt by the Nazi killers? What enabled SS men to murder children, the old and the sick, with sense of justification? and what was the reason for the senseless indifference of the world. What sets Holocaust apart from other crimes committed by Nazis is neither the number of victims, nor the way they were murdered, nor the proportion of the murdered people compared to the total number of targeted victims. The Holocaust is different because a whole people identified by their faith, even the infants, even the fetuses were targeted to be killed. The victims had to do nothing to give offense. It was sufficient simply just to be. The Jews were murdered because they were. To the Nazis, the Jewish crime was their existence and the refusal to die. The Nazi regime decided that the whole people of a race should die, a power no one and no one country should have. And yet, in a sense, the Holocaust does not belong to the Jews. The Holocaust is a human catastrophe. The Holocaust is a death of human morality. The indifference to the Holocaust is the death of democracy. Whatever happened between 1933 and 1945 was madness. It was not politics. It was not a strategy. It was not war. It was madness, a total madness. Madness of those who knew what was happening, madness of those who did not want to know what was happening, and madness of those who kept silence. The churches, the media, statesmen, the armies, the ideologues. During the Holocaust, the mankind was divided into just and unjust. There was no neutral, because the neutral ones were guilty as accomplices, especially in the free world, in America, Switzerland, or the higher authorities, the Vatican. Surely they were guilty by not taking side, by their willful, blindless indifference, or just simply by waiting. We must remember, what we don't say carries weight. You simply cannot kill 1 million children and believe that the world goes on as it did before. People tend to think that a killer weakens when facing a child. The child reawakens the killer's lost humanity. The killers can no longer kill the child before him, before a child inside him. Not this time. With these children, it happened differently. Our children had no effect upon the killers, nor upon the world, nor upon God. Therefore, the story of the Holocaust must be told. However, the question before us is, how does this story instruct the future Those of us who say never again speak only of the death camps, of the gas chambers, of the final solution. That comes too late. That's a too late of a vow. The question is, where, at what point in a Nazi series of crime does the never again begin to apply? The first sin was not the gas chamber. The first sin came when the Germans cast out the Jews from legal and moral equality. The right to work, to vote, to study, the right to speak, to travel, to love, to marry, the love to practice a religion, claim a theory, teach a value. All of those who are the basics of the human right to exist. And when these were cut off, the people are preordained that 6 million of them will die. The facts of the Holocaust makes a repetition more likely. A limit has been broken. A control, an ow, is gone. Failure to confront Holocaust makes repetition all more likely. People in general want to forget because it was too horrific, it was too evil, it was too sad, it was too morbid. However, what happened during the Holocaust was a warning. To forget is a guilt. It must be continuously remembered. If it was possible to happen, it remains possible to happen again. Our teacher Elie Wiesel states, "I am deeply convinced that if we allow the world to forget, it will be the end not only of the memory, it will be the end of the world." And that's why I write about the Holocaust. We speak for those who did not survive. We speak in their stead by proxy. Only through knowledge and understanding can another Holocaust be prevented. Therefore, the story of the Holocaust must be told. The world that stayed silent yesterday will remain silent tomorrow unless we open our eyes to someone else's suffering. Therefore, we must care for one another. We can because we should. Thank you all.